Welcome to Moving Through and Beyond, a podcast dedicated to sharing inspired journeys of redefining life, vision, and purpose after immense hardship and grief. My goal with this podcast is to give you hope and to let my guest journeys inspire you to make the choice to keep looking up. I'm your host, Carey Conley. Hey everyone, this is Carey Conley, your host of Moving Through and Beyond podcast. I am very excited to bring a guest to you today that has a long list of accolades and some tragedy that she's been through in her life as well. And now she's been very public with it. And I would love for her to share more about that. So I want to introduce you guys to Sally Colón. Sally has over 25 years in the entertainment industry, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, appearing in several TV network shows and creating her own production company called Dream On Productions. Dream On Productions focuses on highlighting women around the world suffering from social injustice. And unfortunately, in 2019, after losing her dad to suicide, she decided to become a certified transformational coach to help women and teen girls, and I want to talk to you a lot about that, Sally, to discover who they truly are and guide them through a journey of transformation of self-love. I love this so much. So thank you, Sally, so much for taking the time. Like I said, you don't know me at all, but I've been following you for a while.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. I'm actually really excited. Anytime I have an opportunity to open up and talk, tell my story, I'm happy. So thank you.
And I can tell that about you. I've watched, you interact a lot on Instagram, which is so fun to watch. And first heard about you, as I mentioned earlier, in Clubhouse. Several people in there have just raved about you. And so that's why I started following you. And your girls are so darling.
Thank you. I love my two little teen girls. I have a 17 and an 18. So I'm almost an empty nester.
Yes, ma'am. Well, been there, done that. I can give you some advice on that when you want it. Okay. It's not an easy transition, I will tell you, because we as moms were so involved in their lives for so long. And just when you were starting to develop a really fun adult relationship with them, they leave you.
And that's what's happening right now. My 18-year-old, we're just now starting to get to that groove, because
yes.
12 to 16 is like, woo,
right.
Yeah. But 18 is like, we're like friends now. And she's like, in a year, Mom, I'm moving out. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? So, yeah.
Well, the good thing about girls, Sally, is they don't gravitate from their moms too far. I now have a daughter who's turning 30 in a couple of weeks. I can't even say that.
Wow.
Ugh, right? Got married and started making babies. So she has two little boys. So I'm now a grandmother of a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old, two little boys that just light up my world. And it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah. Now, do they call you grandma or nana or what do they call you?
They call me Cece.
Oh, Cece. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
My initials, right? So I asked my daughter, I said, what are they going to call me? Because she called her mom, my mother-in-law, Peggy Conley, they called her Mom C. And so I thought that's what they were going to call me. And she said, no, you're going to be Cece.
Cece. I like that.
It's so cute now, especially the 3-year-old who's starting to carry on really great conversations with me, to have him say, hey, Cece, let me tell you this, or hey, Cece, it's just cute.
Yeah.
So they'll go off. They'll go do their adult thing, but they usually gravitate back. So enjoy every minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm having fun. It's good. It's good right now.
Well, you, my friend, you actually, your whole background in the entertainment industry just really intrigues me, because once upon a time when I was growing up, I wanted to go into acting and singing. Mm-hmm. And my parents thought, yep, that's really cute, but you're going to go to college and get a business degree is what you're going to do. So I love that you have that background, Sally. It must have been so fun.
Yeah. It was. I was born and raised in Chicago, and if you look at my senior high school picture, it said Hollywood, here I come. I always knew since I was 6 years old and watched Wizard of Oz, I was like, I am going to be in entertainment. And, I've been an actress. I produced and directed film documentaries. And I'm also a singer, which a lot of people don't know. Mm-hmm. So, signed a $1.3 million record deal with a Latin girl group. And we were managed by Suzanne DePasse, who, discovered Jackson 5, Motown executive. So I've done a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've had a lot of successes in my life. But I'm here now, and I'm I'm excited, to just help women, honestly. Like entertainment has been great, 30 years of it, hosting, interviewing top celebrities. I've done almost everything except be a showrunner. I think I've done everything else um, that I wanted to do. And then, yeah, as you were saying, if you want me to transition into like I would say my first adversity was my divorce, actually in 2016. Probably one of the most difficult things I ever went through at that time, besides losing my mom in 2014, which is where the film that was the impetus for my film, my documentary. But my divorce was, I'd never been divorced before. So I had no experience. I had no coping skills. I didn't know how to deal with divorce. And I was also, by the way, going through menopause at the same time. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. I had two very close best friends, Sandy and CD, who were like my, every day I had a phone call with them just to help me through losing not just a marriage, but we had to give up our home. We had to give up Saturday mornings with coffee and pancakes. There was so much, I think, that people don't think about that you get used to. I was married 15 years. So when I decided to get divorced, I started going to therapy. And that was a whammy. Like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
You really don't. And there was so many things about myself that I didn't know. Like it's like you're seen in three different ways, by the way you see yourself, the way other people see you, and the way God sees you. And somewhere in there is who you are, and a lot of people are not willing to hear whatever other people say and see about you, especially trustworthy people. I think everybody just wants to stay within that comfort zone of like, I know who I am and, all this stuff. And I was kind of that way, a little bit of ego, a little bit of pride. And I got my butt kicked in therapy. I learned a lot about myself, and I actually didn't have a tattoo before this, but I tattooed date 5/31/2016 because that's the day that I say I met myself for the first time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I did not like who I met. And, but here's the thing, you can't get rid of yourself. So I had to get to know me. I really had to get to know me and to be empathetic towards me, because what came out in therapy was a lot of childhood traumas that I never worked through.
Yes.
So I really had to learn to be empathetic to myself, and to learn really, truly to get to know me, and to learn to love me, which I think, as moms, as women, we're nurturers. We feel like we have to be everything to everyone, and then we forget about ourselves.
Right.
So, and if you don't know yourself, you can't be yourself. So, I started to get to know myself. It took about 3.5 years of therapy, but, I love who I am today. And I had a lot of work to do. I had a lot of unpacking to do, I feel like I had a closet full of dirty boxes, a bunch of stuff in dirty boxes. And my therapist opened the door and said, let's unpack it. So we unpacked every box, and I feel like I'm clean now. I feel good. I'm always learning. I haven't arrived, if there is a place to arrive to, but I definitely feel like I've come a long way.
Which is the hardest work we do as humans.
Yeah.
Right. And why I think so many people never do that, Sally, unless you are forced to. Right. When you get to a place, I've now been working with somebody really intensely this year. It was 2014 where I lost my husband to suicide, and 2017 when I lost my 25-year-old son.
Wow.
And so it's been, 9 years of this. And it's just this year where I started thinking, I probably should deal with some of this trauma that's embedded in this body now. And it's not easy, because you really have to start becoming aware of all the things that you're saying to yourself.
Yeah.
And how much the trauma is now playing out in your real life, and how it's affecting how you're showing up, and especially in your relationships. It's hard.
Yeah. It's almost like watching a horror film.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I used to love it. And now I'm like, no, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah,
and I think when I was going through like transformation, it was like, I didn't want to relive a lot of those scenes from my childhood. I'm so glad I did, because we were able to really unpack each one and how it was still affecting me. Mm-hmm. That was the other thing, when I went through my divorce, like it's really easy to go into therapy and focus completely on the other person and what they did to you.
Sure.
because it's comfortable to blame everybody else. But when, one day my therapist said, let's not talk about your ex anymore. Let's talk about you. And I was like, what do you mean? And that was the day that my transformation began. That was this day. And like I said, I didn't know myself very well, but I feel like I'm very comfortable in my own skin now. And I understand now when I have a trigger, instead of reacting to that trigger, I stop for a minute and I go, okay, where's that coming from? And is it really what that person said? Or is it some unresolved traumas that I still haven't dealt with?
Yeah.
And and I love it because I have control of my emotions.
Right.
That's the biggest, when you don't have control of your emotions and you're constantly like upset about something or somebody, at work or this or that. And now I just go, take a breather and figure out why it's bugging you. Even with my kids. Listen, our kids are our biggest lesson in life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And they see things that you don't see because they're so close to you. So, I always tell parents, like my clients, I always say, like, pay attention to what your kids are saying to you because you can learn a lot about yourself, and how you react to them. And it's so funny today. I was in my hot yoga class and I was in Shavasana, which is like where you just lay and you're quiet and the music and, all this stuff. And I started thinking about parents and how instead of us, when our kids get in the car and we're like, so tell me everything about school and like kids don't want nosy parents. They want curious parents. They don't want, don't push me to tell you how my day went. Just say, like, do you want to talk about how your day went? Kids want to have the power. At that age, they're 13, 12, 15, 16, whatever. They think they know it all. So if we can lean into that of kids that, they think they know it all. And, I think parents and kids can get along a lot better if we actually pay attention to what they're trying to say to us and not just what we want to hear. So I love being a mom. I really do. And I feel like I learn a lot from my kids.
Yes.
Now that I'm paying attention.
Well, my daughter, I was very, very close to my son. And he loved me like unconditionally. My daughter is really good at shining that mirror on me a little bit.
Yeah. The girls are good at it.
Yes. And because of what we've been through together, the two of us, so we co-authored a book together, Sally, a year after my son passed, called Keep Looking Up. And after that book launched, she and I started speaking together. And that was lovely. I enjoyed every minute of it. And then she started having these babies, and so now she can't do that. But we became very close, and we've learned how to dialogue with each other and communicate so that we keep our relationship really close.
Yeah.
And so we've learned a lot, and I've learned a lot from her on how she handles me.
I love that.
Yeah. She's learned with me to say things in a very loving and compassionate way instead of did you realize you're doing blah, 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 because that does not work for me. So
listen, it doesn't work for anybody.
Right.
If someone's yelling at you or judging you, like our brains will shut down. We're not listening to them, but if you come to somebody with curiosity, asking questions, I always tell my clients too, like if they're in an argument with their husband or children or whatever, if someone comes at you, don't come back at them. You know what I mean? Ask them a question, like get to the bottom of it. It's usually never what they think it is.
Right.
And one thing my therapist taught me was, when someone says something to you or you say something to someone and they get offended, that, you should ask them the question, like, what did you hear me say?
Yeah.
Because it's going through a filter of hurt and trauma and just things that we haven't dealt with, right? So and a lot of times people will be like, oh, well, this is what I heard you say. And then you're like, but that's not what I said, you know? So if we could just ask more questions rather than being so defensive and wanting to get back at the person, just stop for a second, ask a question, get to the bottom of it. So I was going to say when, in 2019, well, I'll go back when 2018, my dad and I I went to Chicago and we spent like a week together, and it was the most incredible week I had spent with my dad. Like it was like focused attention on each other and just getting to know each other. Cause you get married and my dad was in Chicago. I was in LA. We didn't really get to see each other. So we really focused on going to our favorite, cause I'm from Chicago, our favorite food places like Giordano's and, Puerto Rican food. And it was the most incredible time. And then 8 months later, my dad took his life.
Mm.
And it was the most shocking. I got the call from my sister, and she was screaming on the phone, "Dad is dead." I fell to my knees. I was supposed to take my kids to school that morning. My kids are like, "Mom, what?" And so it took me about 6 months to really recover from the shock.
Yeah.
Because I knew my dad suffered from some mental health, depression and anxiety, but I didn't realize how serious it was.
Right.
He never said I'm suicidal. He never
Yep.
said, like I hate my life. He was always funny and like exciting and a prankster and all this stuff. And so that made me halt all of everything that I was doing at that time, which was entertainment. And I decided to go back to school for a year and become a certified transformation coach to help other people suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel. My dad was suffering in silence.
Yep.
Didn't know how to say, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, it's.
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah.
Same thing with both my husband and my son. And I think that this is prevalent mostly in men because there's such a pride thing involved.
Yeah.
It would be weak to say, I'm struggling more than you know.
Yeah.
Like you, I knew both of them were struggling through some stuff, but not to the level of thinking they were thinking of taking their life. Right. So yeah, the shock, I think the shock is the biggest part of the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also started because of that, because I felt like it's men and I feel teenagers,
Yes.
are very susceptible because they're dealing with trying to keep up with this girl and what that girl's wearing and low self-esteem, and especially girls. And I know boys do too, but especially girls. So I started Girls Empowered. It's called Girls Empowered. It's a mentoring program for girls out here in the USD school district. So we started with 60 girls at my daughter's high school. They were both in high school. So both my girls were in the program. They brought their friends in, and we met every week. And the testimonies that came from these girls in the beginning, they were so open, sharing like what they were going through, some of the things they suffered from in school. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, we were able to kind of hear their testimonies. Like, how do you feel now? We gave them tools to learn, to deal with bullying, to deal with, why do I feel this way? Why am I jealous of that girl? Like, why am I always filling in the blanks and thinking people don't like me? There was so many, sexual abuse that came from other kids. The whole thing was just shocking to me. I knew what kids went through because I was raising two teenagers myself, but there was things that my girls hadn't gone through that other girls went through that were shocking to me. It's like, this is happening. And these kids don't have support at home because a lot of it is happening at home.
Right.
So, it was very eye-opening for me. And it's something that I want to continue doing and speaking and continuing, to take on these incredible women. Like, I have so many incredible testimonies of just women that come, and I get to see the progression of their transformation in life, that they're like, I didn't even know this was possible, And I'm like, yes, it's possible. And so, and I always think like whatever I can do to help someone, to hand them tools that they can then pay that forward in their lives with their family members. And, because I think we suffer the most from the people closest to us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're doing with the girls because they do need a lot of help. And as a matter of fact, I'm connected to a lot of people who are also working with teens and a lot of teen girls. They are very hungry for the community and for the help. And the suicide rate, as you know, is sky high in this age group and dropping. I found statistics not long ago, Sally, for 5 to 9 year olds now. So it's crazy, and it has a lot to do with what you were saying a minute ago, the stress at home. So they need an outlet. They need.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. They need an outlet.
They need an outlet, and so my focus. I don't know if I've said this to you already, Sally, is that I now am launching a community for young adults, and young adults like early 20s, early 30s. Because I feel like that group right there, there's not a lot of support for them. And they're coming out into the adult world with, like you said several times, not the right tools, not the right resources. They don't have a vision for their life, which is my big thing.
Yeah.
They just kind of are drifting. They're not happy. They've moved into jobs that they were told to go get, and they're thinking, this is it, right?
Yeah. Well, what you're saying is amazing, because I feel like a lot of times parents don't have the tools, so they can't then give them to their kids. So I think it really starts with the parent
Yep.
taking time to really hone in on themselves. Like, how can I be a better parent? How can I be a better human?
Yeah.
Because before I went through my therapy, I didn't have any tools. So my kids were just learned behavior from my mom and my mom's mom and my mom's mom.
Yep.
And it was like a generational thing. So my kids were just learning what I learned. And then when I decided to go to therapy, and really, I went for 3.5 years, like really holding, not just therapy, I did boundaries classes, spiritual care classes. Like, I read a million books. Like, I was like a sponge. I just wanted to be better,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to be happy. I didn't know how to be joyful. It was like, I didn't know how to feel that, because I never saw my parents that way.
Sure.
And so I never learned that. And so once I got my tools, my kids started to see, wow, like, whoa, mom, like, you're different. And then I was able to hand them tools by the way I reacted to them now, and the way they saw me react to other people, and the way they saw me react to their dad. And so they've changed, and now they have tools. And my daughter, Bella, who's 18, she's just getting ready to graduate from high school. And she's like, I want to be a life coach, mom. I mean, that's like, what?
So great.
Thing, so because she's already learned so much from me, that she's kind of a life coach to her friends now.
Yeah.
And so she enjoys that feeling. So she's like, I want to be a life coach. So, I'm elated, obviously, for that.
I love that. Yeah. I just really feel like the teen girls, they're just super hungry for the information and just need to be heard. And they need a community, a safe space where they can talk out, what they're going through. Because I think, unfortunately, we all know this, that they're very isolated, Sally. They are the loneliest generation here in the United States, which you'd think it would be people my age, right? I'm 61. Yeah. But it's not. It's these young adults and these teens, and it's because they don't feel like they can talk to each other really. Kind of lost the art of like physical communicating. So much having to do with social media.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was actually just going there. I think social media, I think Hollywood there's so much indoctrination right now. This is another reason I left the industry, because all the different shows and on Netflix, and even Disney Plus, now has mature audience stuff. And to me, it's like, if kids are left alone to their own devices, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
They are going to become depressed, because they're trying to keep up with the Kardashians or all the reality TV shows, or, like Euphoria, which is basically one of the worst shows I've ever seen for teens. Like, it's like, what are you doing, people? Yeah. Like, what is the point of these shows? So, they're all, I think they just go into this darkness of like, this is what it is. This is what life is. And none of it is real. Right? It's television, it's fantasy, but they take it as real, and they have to keep up with that. So I just hope, I pray all the time, like, let's get some people in the industry that want to put out good content. My film, Women Like Us, which is with a distributor right now, it's actually on the docket for 2024. So we're hoping to get it up on a streamer, is all about women that are changing the world. My kids watched it and they were like, wow, this is amazing that women are changing the world. And, there's so much
inspiring.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to do my part, but I wish we had more people that wanted to do good in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Rather than just sell, movies.
Yeah.
And make money.
Well, it just takes one to start a movement, Sally. You seem to be that person.
I'm happy to be that person.
Yeah. I really I appreciate all the things that you have shared already as far as resources and tools that have helped you get through your adversities and what you're working on now. If you were talking to young adults right now, because that's the community I'm working through, what would you tell them? What would be your advice?
For me, it's always find yourself. Who are you? Like, find your true identity, whether that's talking with a coach or a trusted, not everybody has money to get with a coach or therapist. Sure. There's so much stuff on YouTube. There's so many great books that you can read. I mean, I'll give you just a few now. Like, I'm reading Four Agreements was one of the first books that I started reading. Then Tears to Triumph by Marianne Williamson, Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown. There's so many incredible authors out there writing these incredible books that can change your complete life. Take time to find yourself. Honestly, like, don't just keep waking up in the morning and doing the same thing over and over. Like, stop for a second, journal, get to know you. If you have stuff that you have in your past that you haven't worked through, I promise you it's still affecting you.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Like, how are you getting to the bottom of why you react and act a certain way? Like, do the work.
Yeah.
Do the work. I'm telling you, there is another side. It's called the wilderness, and it's a beautiful place. And if you can get there and find yourself, you're going to find joy and peace and love for yourself and empathy for yourself. And so I say, go find the wilderness, go find yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell teen girls and adults. And you know what? People that are older too, they all need to hear it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of my clients have been, around my age and still figuring things out. And I think that's another thing I've been saying a lot lately is that I think so many of them are so afraid to move in any direction of what they really desire in their life because they're so afraid of making mistakes or not being able to reinvent themselves. I taught a class to a bunch of high school kids last April. And when I asked them to write their vision on paper, which is one of the things I do with people, they first of all looked at me like, you want me to do what? Because they've never been asked to do that before.
Right. That's good though.
And I got them to think about 3 years from now when you're out and you're, starting your life. And a lot of them said, I'm afraid to make any decisions in one direction in case it doesn't work out to be the direction I really want to go. And I said to them, I'm 61 and still figuring it out. So yeah.
Here's the thing. Just, sometimes first of all, words are huge. Like,
Yes.
What word are you saying to yourself? If you're saying, I don't know if I'm ever going to be successful, guess what?
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. If you get up in the morning, you say, I'm going to be so successful. I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to go, change the world. I'm going to go, like, if your focus is on that and you're training your brain to do that, like, so many people, like, your brain controls you, your mind controls you. Like, you need to start controlling your mind. Yes. And not allow your mind to control you. So that's really getting up in the morning again, like, even weirdly getting in the mirror and talking to yourself and saying, like, you're doing so good right now. This is what you want. So this is what you're going to do. Like, words are so powerful, like truly, truly powerful. That's not just a weird thing. It really is. It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
So watch what you say, watch the words coming out of your mouth and, say good things, say positive things about yourself.
Yeah. One of my mentors always used to say, what you think about, you bring about.
It's true.
Yeah, it is. And there's a whole bunch of science behind that, obviously. So yeah, you've got to get aware of those thoughts and capture them before they even, take root. So yeah, such good advice, Sally, and what you're doing in the world with these girls. What are you currently working on that's going to come out next that we can support you on?
So the biggest thing right now is my film, Women Like Us, which the distributor just sent us an email and said that we're on the docket for 2024. So hopefully we get it up on Netflix or Hulu or, it's called Women Like Us. It's a feature documentary about women changing the world in the areas of sex trafficking, FGM in Africa. We shot it in Africa and teen suicide. So, and there's some great people that are supported it. Like Moby gave us all the music and Sherry Shepard is in it. She's one of my executive producers. So we have some great support there. And then, my life coaching career or business or, whatever you want to call it, like that is 100%, where I'm going forward. Entertainment, I'm pushing to the side except for my film and just coaching women. So and I'm happy just in one space. Like my whole life, I've been like singer, producer, actress, host. And today I can say, like, I am a certified transformation coach and this is my full focus. And it feels good to just be really good at just one thing. And so this is the first time I'm ever doing that. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. Yeah. So just coaching. So if anyone's interested in coaching with me, I do Zoom. I'm actually in my studio where I meet my clients and I'm in LA. So if anybody is looking for a coach, to transform their lives, to get to know themselves, here I am. Or Zoom. I also do Zoom, so I can do international. But yeah, that's my focus right now.
Well, you're so inspiring, Sally. Like I said, I just
Thank
needed to get
you.
to know you, and I appreciate you, saying yes the minute I reached out, not knowing
Yeah.
me. That's a lot. So I thank you, and I know that you're going to change a lot of lives and leave a legacy. That's where you're at. That's where you and I are both at, is just working on the legacy part.
And that's a beautiful thing when you can leave a legacy, when you
Yeah,
don't make it about you, but you make it about others and,
yeah,
like what you can leave behind when you're gone. So I'm
yeah.
excited.
So
Yeah.
beautiful. And I just,
Thank you.
again, appreciate your time. And I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of Moving Through and Beyond. I am just here to keep reminding you to keep looking up. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, please share it with a friend or a family member. In order to be successful on this mission, I can't do it alone. Connect with me at www.careyconley.com. And don't forget to sign up for my weekly Do It On Purpose newsletter. Let's build this life-giving vision movement together to end this epidemic, save lives, and create purpose.